This episode of Coach Talk is brought to you by P2C Athlete Prep.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Coach Talk. I am joined by UC Merced head coach, Coach Chery, Hopkins-Chery. Coach, thanks for joining us here on Coach Talk. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk with you guys today.
Great. So, Coach, let's get into it. We keep these to 30 minutes, so let's kind of talk about it and do some good here. So, Coach, as you guys are dealing with this pandemic, how has recruiting changed for you the biggest?
I think we've been fortunate in some areas, well, a lot of areas really, because we had a really young team last year. We only had a couple of seniors, and I had 7 freshmen and 5 sophomores. So for us, like the class of 21, we have added a couple of ladies, but we weren't in the big, like 4, 5, 6, 7 kid recruiting class. So that's been helpful. But I think the biggest adjustment for everybody is, communicating, doing virtual visits, whether it's by Zoom or other media that people have available, is just trying to think outside the box and go different angles for people. For us, we've been one of the campuses that has been closed and we haven't been able to be on campus or have visitors. So just getting on the phone, communicating FaceTime, doing virtual visits, doing what we can to build relationships, to share information about campus and everything at the moment. I think one of the other things that's can be a struggle for some of the student athletes and even for coaches as well is really just kind of seeing talent, seeing where the progressions are, because particularly in California, there's not that many kids that are playing. There's some that are playing with clubs, but high school wise, there isn't anything going on. So the exposure part for the next generations, the 20, even some of the 21s, but 22s, 23s, people are waiting to figure out what the development is. So we're living off of just film, really. There's not much live interaction at the moment.
Okay. So for you, live events like camps, showcases, or these tournaments that are streamed or whatever that you can watch, it's probably a big part of your recruiting, or will be, at least for the next couple of months. That's interesting. So you guys are NAIA, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And through my research, you guys have been a somewhat perennial player in the NAIA tournaments and even in the rankings. So what did you guys do when you came in as a staff to make that big impact and turn around what you guys had going on there at UC Merced?
Yeah, so, in a short amount of time, I think we've done a really good job as a program. We've been really blessed to have some really great ladies in our program, high academic, motivated, understanding that because they're at a new program, a new institution, that they have a chance to leave a legacy and they wanted to leave a legacy. So I've been really blessed in that area. We had some great support staff. Like I said, I inherited a group of ladies that were motivated and they wanted to continue to improve every season. And that's really what we've done. We've been to nationals 3 times, a couple of championships for a conference tournament and a regular season. But ultimately, it's been about us getting better every year. And even the last couple of years when we haven't made the national tournament, there's other things that we've done, beating multiple top 25 teams or just different areas where we feel like we're continuing to make progress and seeking excellence and trying to truly kind of be one of the top programs that we can be in the NAIA and just continuing to strive to get better every day. For us, it's always about seeking excellence, and it's not just basketball. We're talking about academics. UC Merced's a top 100 school. So they have to come in with a good academic mind frame and motivation there as well. And we like to do what we can to get in the community. So we're really looking for the whole student athlete. It's not just one dimensional for us. It takes all of that. And I think that also has an impact, obviously, from our culture and just in the standards and expectations that we have and the hard work that our ladies put in as well.
So I'm sure everybody's picked up on the accent. So where are you from, Coach? Originally?
Yeah, I am from England originally. Yeah, my accent's a little mangled now, but I'm from England originally. So.
Okay, so coming from England to the U.S., and what was the transition like? I guess the question I want to ask is, how different is the level of play as far as fundamental wise and skill development wise from players that you saw in England and what you're seeing here now in the US?
Yeah, I think fundamentals. I think it's changing here. With some programs. Honestly, fundamentals. I think it is drilled more and really honed on more in Europe. If you're looking at shooters and things like that. The big thing for me and a big attraction for a lot of people, particularly in England and in various places in Europe, is just the access to facilities you guys have, the support that there is. For me in England, I played high school, club team, national level programs, played for the national team at various levels, but we were barely in the gym. It was a team, you know. For me, I was able to get in the gym every day just because I practiced with the guys. I trained with the men's team. I trained with the women's team. I trained with multiple different teams to be able to get in the gym every day. So for me, coming over here as a player and even as a coach, just being able to know that we can get in the gym every day is just such a blessing. And I think that's a big piece that has an impact. Style of play is obviously a little bit different. I think it reflects the way we play a little bit. It's just kind of what I grew up playing wise, doing. It's differences in physicality, differences in just a different style of game. You see a lot more sometimes of really just full on X's and O's. And sometimes then I think can lead to various discussions, but of kids just having decision-making skills and things like that. So I think there's some pros from each area. Obviously I'm here because I get the opportunity to be coaching every day as a career, as a profession, doing something I love that I'm passionate about. And that opportunity is far and few between in England, and definitely really not many programs at the college level that even have that opportunity there, even now after 20 years.
Yeah. So now, how does that background in playing in Europe and England translate to the style and the type of player that you recruit and your staff recruits here now? Because I know it has to have an impact on the type of player that you look at and how you're evaluating those players.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty definitive whether I like a kid or not. I can kind of get a good vibe, but there are a few different areas that we're looking at. We do play up tempo. We're not a system run and gun, but we do play up tempo. Depending on the teams that we have, the personnel we have, depends how much we're pressing and things like that. But if we can get a fast break opportunity, we can let our kids play and make some decisions out of transition and things like that. We're going to do that. Like I mentioned, we're looking for high character kids. I like kids that have a high motor. One of my biggest things is effort and work rate and intensity. So if you don't work hard or you only want to show up when you feel like it, this isn't going to be the program for you. I'm not going to be the coach for you. We're going to butt heads too much. But yeah, so having character, looking at people's potential, particularly being an NAIA program, I think we do a good job of really developing our players. We have the opportunity to work out all summer. So potential is often an area where we'll have a kid. And I've had a few at UC Merced where we've been working with them. And then the next summer we play a colleague that I'm friends with. And he's like, where did this kid come from? Well, she's been here. She's just been working the last 2 years. And now it's finally her time. She's really just worked on her game. So we really kind of look into that as well. But we're looking at talent. We're looking at character. Obviously, academics is really the first thing we're looking at, because if you don't have the grades for us, then it's end of conversation. And I think that's one of the things that student athletes miss a fair amount here, is they really don't understand the importance of their academics and how much that can help them, and how many doors they can keep open by having good grades, and then also the access to additional aid that they can get as well. So we're obviously looking at that, and then, like I said, looking at their potential. I like some kids that can put it on the floor, that can get to the rim. We like to have some shooters and some bigs. So for us, we really kind of live on diversity in various ways, just like on the makeup of our team. If you look at our team and our backgrounds, and even as well as in our style of plays, like we don't have a kid that really plays identical to one another. Every kid brings something different to the table for us, and that's kind of something that we use to our advantage, and like that we feel like most nights we can match up with whatever the style of play is because we've got that diversity within our own team.
Nice. And so, as you guys recruit, is your focus more regionally, or is it where you can get the most talent regardless to where they come from? There's a lot of programs they try to focus regionally and stay there, and they kind of just stay in that portion of the country. Are you guys more regionally, or do you actually look at the broad scope but being realistic on what student athletes you can get to come to California? I mean, you are in California, so it's like 70, 80 degrees. So
right, exactly, right. No, and we get a lot of interest, and because I'm an international coach, I get a lot of the international kids that reach out to me too. But unfortunately, with where we are right now, University of California has out-of-state residence fees and tuition fees, which pretty much doubles the cost of attendance. So for us, the focus is pretty much on California because they're the ones that are getting that California regular straight rate. They're not having to pay any of the out-of-state tuition fees. So nearly all of our kids on our roster are from California. We have one that's hometown is Vegas, but she's pretty much lived in California most of her life. So it could be something that changes for us. Like I say, as we're a new program, there's still a lot of changes and development going on in our campus, and potentially here in the future with athletics and where we may be playing and things. So it's stuff that could change. But for right now, the focus is pretty much on California, unless we have kids that have parents that are willing to pay that out-of-state tuition.
So I always bring this up. I'm retired military, so this is why. I know a lot of times, a lot of universities will, if a parent is on active duty, that kid will get in-state tuition. But then they also have post 9/11 GI Bill, yellow ribbon programs that mitigate a lot of those costs. And so I just throw it out there as an option for you guys. It's like there's a whole nother world out there with military student athletes whose parents have the means to bring that cost down or get that in-state tuition.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the caveats. Is one of the outside is the military options, because the UC system does have those. So that's one of the things. And then the neighboring states get the WUI, so they get like 50% off of the out of state tuition fees.
Okay.
So closer to home, it's benefits, and then obviously the military is a piece. Most of those students and those kids know if they are, and if they qualify for that, they've already had conversations with their parents on that. So it kind of comes out early conversations. But yeah, we have those options as well. Yeah.
Okay. You talked about your style of play. You talked about the type of player that you guys look for there. how does a student athlete best put their, I guess, to present themselves in the best light to you and your staff to at least garner you guys saying, hey, can you send us some video to look at you? What are some of those things that they might want to look at in their approach to reaching out to yourself and your colleagues as far as getting that email back, a call back, or asking for more video? What are those type of things that they should be doing in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I think no matter whether it's our institution or whoever's, if you're reaching out and you have that interest, do your research first. It is really make sure that you know you've done a little bit of research into the program, if you've been able to watch any of the film to see if it's going to be a fit for you. Is the location good for you? Do you have the grades to get in? Those are things that I think are important. And then it really comes down sometimes to something as simple as, did you spell our institution right? Did you put UC Merced, or did you just make us a Cal State Merced? Did you get the coach's name right? You will be surprised at what we get in both those areas at times. Another thing that really kind of is another turnoff is, I'm really interested in your criminology major. We don't have a criminology major. So you haven't done your research, right? So I think those are kind of the easy flip side of the question, like things that get you pushed to the side, or no, you haven't done your research, or you've got another coach's name in there, because, we understand, we get that you guys recruits sending emails out to various coaches, but double check your work. Pay attention to detail, right? Because that's what you're going to need to do when you're playing for us. Do you pay attention to the scout? Do you pay attention to your plays? So, that's that attention to detail that you have to be successful at a higher level. So getting out, sending emails, introducing yourself. For us, it would be giving us a little bit about kind of your academic background, athletics, if you have any community service involvement, if you have some highlight film that you want to throw in there, and then we can always ask for the full game film. If you have both available, put them both in there. Then you're giving the coach everything they need to be able to start the evaluation process with you. The other thing for us is we use our recruiting questionnaire. So if the program has a recruiting questionnaire on the website, I'd encourage you to fill that out and then send an email. Hey, I filled out the recruiting questionnaire. There's some information. Here's my contact info. Let me know if you need anything else. I would just say, just kind of doing your due diligence, making sure that you put a bit of research in there, and it's not just, hey, I want an opportunity to play, please email me back. And I say it's simple as that, but unfortunately, we sometimes get those emails too. So you've got to put a little bit of effort into. And that's the thing for us with recruitment in general. I don't care how good a kid is. If I have to chase you and always reach out and follow up, you're not going to be the right fit for us.
Yeah, that accountability piece is huge.
Yeah.
So what events do you guys use as a staff to really go out and find student athletes? Like, are there some events that happen on the calendar that you guys are like, we have to be there, we have to be here, we have to be there? Or is it more you guys relying on seeing high school games, or is it do you get your biggest bang for your buck going to summer tournaments? Like, what events are like the big draws for you and your staff as you're trying to evaluate and identify student athletes for your program?
Yeah, so I think this is probably an area where I am a little bit different, again, with my background and just kind of the way we handle things. One of the nice things of being at NAI is we can see a kid whenever we want, right? We don't have to work inside the windows. We can talk to a kid whenever we want. We don't have to say, I can't call you back. We got to wait till next week or whatever it may be. So for me, I like to see if it's a kid I'm really recruiting, I'd like to see him in both settings. So I like to go out to the tournaments. We pretty much stick to the tournaments in California. Again, we don't get a whole lot of out of state, so we don't spend the money to go out of state. We hit up a lot of the bigger tournaments and even the non-viewing tournaments. I like to get out early June before people get their warm-up games in, and catch some of those games. And then if there's kids too, then I would like to see them at the high school. So during our non-conference season, part of the season, I'm typically out at high school games as well. I'd like to see a kid play with their club team, and I'd like to see them play with their high school team, because often there's two very different elements and they have two different roles in them. So it's important to me. And then I like to get out to a practice because I want to see what they're doing every day, and not just showing up at game time. So we use a little bit of everything, to be honest.
Yeah, and we always tell our student athletes because the position you're playing in high school may not be the same position you're playing on your travel team, and so being able to show that diversification in your game, I think, is huge.
Absolutely.
So, I always forget about the fact that NAIA schools can just go. You guys can go anywhere. You can talk anytime. That was the one piece that I really missed going from NAIA to coach at NCAA was there was no window. It's like call them, talk to them. So I missed that piece when I switched over. But
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Ended up going to NAI school. I really like it. I just like that. Like, so you get to build those relationships a little bit more. You don't have to kind of force them in certain time frames. I like that. And if we end up going up a level, it's going to be something I miss too.
Yeah. So as you're building these relationships with student athletes, what's that window that you look at for recruiting? Is it seniors? Is it starting at juniors? Like, where do you guys start recruiting the student athlete for your program?
As juniors and seniors, predominantly. The past few years, it's really kind of been heavy on the seniors, keeping an eye on some juniors. This year, since I feel like we're ahead of the game. Like I said, we've got a couple of 21. We don't need any more people for our roster next year. So I'm heavily looking at those juniors, at those 22s, but kind of really keeping it on those juniors and seniors. There's been a couple of kids too that I've known since freshmen and sophomores, and they've been typically the really proactive kids that already want to start. They know they want to play college, and they're starting to get a feeler out, and they want to get to camps, and they want to get to know coaches, and they know that they can talk to us. And with me, with any kid, whether I'm recruiting them or not, if they've got questions, I'm going to answer them. They come to a camp or they give me a phone call or whatever, and they just want a question about a process or an understanding of kind of how the academics is going to work for them or anything like that, then I'm going to try to do my best to help them. I'm big on fit. I think it's so important that kids go to the right fit. It doesn't matter what the name is, what the level is. It's important that you find what fits you overall. And if one element's taken out, would you still be at that school? Because if you say no, then that might not be the perfect fit for you, and it's something you have to really consider. So mainly juniors and seniors, but I've spoken to some kids since their freshman, sophomore years as well.
Okay. So you mentioned just now camps. Do you guys have camps on your campus?
Yes. Yeah, typically, yes. We're getting ready to hopefully have them again this summer.
Shameless plug opportunity. Tell us about your camps.
Yeah, so we typically do prospects, elite camps, a team camp, and then sign up some youth and development camps. With all of those, particularly with the high schoolers, we're treating those camps, it's like our practices. I'm going to give you, and our whole team's going to be there. They're going to be helping coach, and they're going to be in with the drills. You're going to play against them. You're going to be having an opportunity to ask them any questions you want throughout the day. The same with us, but we're going to give you an experience of what it's like, how hard you need to go, what our drills are like, and just kind of give you that true reflection of what it's going to be. Everyone's tired at the end of our camp, but everyone feels like that they competed, got better. And I think that's truly how it needs to be for the kids that truly want to know if they can compete and if they want to go to the next level of playing college ball. They've got to have an understanding of what they're getting into. And I think sometimes the camps it's slow, or they're just going through drills and it's one at a time, or the intensity is not there and they don't have an understanding. Then when they show up for a practice, like, oh, this is what it's like. I didn't have to go this hard when I was at camp. So we really try to implement that. And like I said, our team gets involved from all aspects of the camp. So.
Okay. So that kind of led me to this. I was sitting up here and I just thought about this. So if you had to advise a parent on their child being the star on a really bad team or a solid contributor on a really good team, what experience do you think would be best for that student athlete?
For me personally, I like to compete. I do not like to lose. So whether I was a star and it's a losing team, like I'm going to be miserable. I'm not going to be happy. And I think if you're truly a team player, that's going to be your mindset, because you're going to want to do what you can, what's best for the team to help the team win. And for me, I think people have a lot more fun when they win, right? As coaches, we talk about with each other, you know, when you're losing, all the problems of the world come around. But when you're winning, how things get quiet. And I think that's the same individually too. I mean, I'd go with a team where I know we're going to have success, compete. I can get better every day. Just depending on that first one, if the team's really not that good, are you even getting better every day?
Yeah, I know. We've had a few conversations, and the one thing that the coaches reiterated were they want kids that come from winning programs. They want kids that know how to win. And so I think that goes right in line with that, in that, you know, if all you've ever done is lose, and this isn't, I guess I shouldn't paint this broad statement, but the premise comes behind it that, like, if a kid comes from a program that all they've done is lose, does that kid know how to win? And can he or her bring a winning mentality to our program? And so I can see why a lot of coaches lean that way, because there's some things you just can't teach. Like, you can't teach a kid to have a innate ability to want to just win. Either they have it or they don't. And a lot of times they refer to it as like a student athlete having that dog in them. Like, you can't teach that. Either they have it or they don't. And so I think when student athletes are in an environment where they're constantly competing, they get better. They make each other better. And when you have a student athlete that isn't in that environment, when they get in that environment, do they know how to navigate the waters of that environment to where they're making their teammates better, they're making themselves better, they're making the program better? And so I always look at that, and it's like you're teaching your son or daughter to run from competition. In closing, I'll open the floor up to you, Coach. Is there anything you want to impart, talk about your program, whatever it is? The floor is yours.
Okay. And let me add there. No, for me, you know, like you said, you're doing this to try and help student athletes, try and help parents. I think it's great. I'm one of the coaches that's big, like I mentioned already, on fit. If I can help a kid, if they've got questions, just want to find some answers, want someone to discuss things, then I'm always open for that with coaches and players. I'll always look at film or tell you people what I think, you know, if they're going to be a good fit or not. It's about being honest, about having those open relationships. People just really kind of doing your research. I think too easily some people just see one place, or they get told about some, oh, you should go here. Well, they might think you should go there, but do you think you should go there? Is it a fit for you? And sometimes that's a difficult conversation for the athlete, because maybe mom and dad wants them to go here, but from the experience they had, that's not where they see it's the right fit. And I think it's important that they step up and say that. And then just going back to the piece of that last conversation, it's, you know, sometimes you can get offered a scholarship somewhere and you're going to be on a 1-in-29 program, and your kid's not going to be happy every day, but you can go somewhere else and be part of a winning program, and they pay a little bit. What kind of experience do you want them to have? And I think it's important that parents and players take the time to break down numbers, particularly, you know, for example, there's private schools can be really expensive. They, you know, it could be $60,000 a year. And a parent, we've had this a couple of times, chat with people too, is, hey, our tuition is $13,500. So we're a lot cheaper, and, you know, you want to pay $13,500, and then the private school offered you $20,000, but you still got to pay $40,000. But coach, they offered me $20,000. Yeah, but you still got to pay $40,000. So I think it's important for people to just break down numbers like that, as well as they're kind of making in their decision process, because not everybody's going to get full rides everywhere. Not every institution can offer full rides. So it's important to just do your research, do your due diligence, One other thing I always tell recruits and ladies at our camps is look for outside scholarships. There's so many scholarships out there for kids. If they have the good grades, and then particularly on the women's side, if they're looking to go into STEM and nursing and things like that, there's a lot of outside scholarships that they just take the time to write a short essay or even just to submit an application. They can take that money no matter what school they go to. So that's a big thing for me. And we've had quite a few ladies that have done that. Just there's a lot of opportunities out there. It just takes some effort. You just got to put the work in, find what's the right fit for you, and get out and communicate with people, and make sure you're kind of listening to different angles and different opinions on things as well.
Good stuff, Coach. Well, folks, come to the end of another great episode. Another great coach who's came on to impart their knowledge for you guys. This has been Coach Talk. Thank you. Have a good day.